He found it by accident, and that was the part that never left him. He was not looking for secrets. He was not suspicious of anything. He was searching for insurance documents in the bottom drawer of her nightstand on a quiet Sunday afternoon when his hand touched something soft and worn, and he pulled out a dark blue journal with her handwriting on the inside cover. He almost put it back. He came within 2 seconds of putting it back. Then he saw the date on the first entry, and his hand stopped moving completely. June 14th, the week of their wedding, 12 years ago. He told himself he would read 1 page, just 1. 40 minutes later, he was still sitting on the bedroom floor with his back against the bed and his hands shaking slightly. And by the time he reached an entry written in year 7 of their marriage, he stopped breathing for a moment because he understood something that rearranged every memory he had of the last 12 years. He had been living with a woman who loved him more completely than he had ever understood, and he had made her feel completely alone while doing it. Stay with me, because what Daniel found inside those pages is something every person in a relationship needs to hear before it is too late for them too. Her name was Caroline. His was Daniel. They met at a birthday dinner in Chicago on a Friday night in October, and he asked for her number before the dessert plates were cleared, because there was something about her that he had never encountered before and could not immediately name. She was not the loudest person at the table. She was not performing for anyone. She was just fully present and fully herself in a way that made everyone near her feel steadier without knowing why. They dated for 2 years, got married on a warm Saturday in June with 40 people and dancing that went 2 hours past what the venue allowed. Started their life together in a small apartment where the walls were thin and the neighbors argued on Tuesday nights, and they loved every imperfect inch of it. The first years were the kind of happy that does not photograph well because it is too quiet and too real. Weekend coffee, late movies, long conversations about nothing that somehow covered everything. The kind of life that does not look impressive, but feels like home every single morning. Then Daniel's career accelerated. Promotions arrived. His phone became a permanent extension of his hand. His world expanded in every direction, and without either of them consciously deciding it, Caroline began making herself smaller to accommodate his growth. She stopped bringing up her own difficult days because his always seemed more urgent. She stopped mentioning the things that bothered her because the timing was never right. And then the habit of waiting for the right time became the habit of never saying it at all. She managed the household and the appointments and the bills and the social calendar, and she did it all without being asked and without asking to be noticed. And Daniel accepted every bit of it, the way people accept the ground beneath their feet, without awareness, without gratitude, without ever asking what it cost her. He was not cruel. He was not cold. He simply became progressively less present while remaining physically in the same rooms. And there is a particular kind of damage that does, which is quieter than cruelty and harder to name, and in some ways, much harder to recover from. And Caroline never complained, not once, not out loud. But the journal told a completely different story. The early entries were almost unbearable to read because of how much joy was in them. She wrote about their wedding day with the kind of specific detail that only someone who replays a memory regularly could produce. She wrote about the exact way his hands shook during the vows, the way he laughed at something the officiant said and looked immediately at her to share the moment. She wrote that she had never in her life felt so completely and deliberately chosen by another person.
Daniel was crying before he reached year 2, and he did not try to stop it. Then he turned another page.
Year 3. The tone did not shift dramatically. It did not become angry or accusatory. And that was precisely what made it so hard to sit with. There was no bitterness in those pages. Just an honest woman writing in the dark about things she could not say in the light. One entry read, "Tonight I started the same sentence 3 times at dinner, and he talked over me each time without realizing it. I know he did not mean to. I know he did not even notice. But somehow the fact that he did not notice is the part I cannot stop thinking about." Daniel stared at that entry for a long time. He could not remember that dinner. She had remembered it in enough detail to write it down. The distance between those two things hit him like something physical. But the next pages were even harder to read. Year 5. One entry stopped him completely. Spent 3 hours making his favorite birthday dinner tonight. He came home 2 hours late. Did not call. The food was cold by the time he walked in, and I had already packed most of it away. When he apologized, I smiled and told him it was completely fine. I have been thinking about that smile ever since. About how easy it has become. About whether I am protecting him from guilt or protecting myself from the conversation that would follow if I told the truth. He put the journal down on the floor, pressed both hands over his face, and for the first time began moving through his own memories from her perspective instead of his. And the view from there was something he was not prepared for. He thought that entry was the lowest point. He was wrong. Year 6. One paragraph. Short and devastating. Today I practiced telling him I was unhappy. I stood in the kitchen while he was at work and said the words out loud 3 times to see how they felt. When he came home, he looked exhausted, so I asked about his day instead, and made dinner, and we watched television, and I never said any of it. She had rehearsed her pain in an empty kitchen, alone, and then swallowed it whole when he walked through the door. And he had sat beside her that entire evening without the faintest idea. Then he turned another page. Year 7. This was the entry that broke something open in his chest that he could feel physically. She wrote, "I have learned that there are 2 kinds of loneliness. The first is being alone. The second is sitting beside someone you love while feeling completely invisible to them. I used to think the first kind was worse. I do not think that anymore." Daniel closed the journal, opened it again, read those lines a second time and a third, because he knew she was right, and he knew with complete and terrible clarity exactly who had made her feel that way, inside her own home, inside her own marriage, inside the life they had supposedly built together. Then he reached year 9, and his stomach dropped. She wrote, "I looked at apartments online today. Just looked. Did not contact anyone, did not save anything. But for the first time I let myself imagine what my life would look like if I left." And then the next line, "I do not want to leave him. I want him to notice I am gone before I actually have to be." Daniel sat completely still for a long time with that page open in his lap. All those years he had assumed everything was fine. All those years he had told himself that her silence meant contentment. She had been sitting in the next room imagining apartments.
The woman he loved had been quietly calculating the cost of staying while he was watching television 3 feet away. He thought he knew what the worst moment of reading this journal was. He had been wrong every single time. Then he reached the final entry. Last month's date at the top of the page. 4 paragraphs. Nothing in 12 years of marriage had prepared him for them.
She wrote, "If you are reading this, then one of 2 things has happened. Either I have finally left, or you have finally started looking. I have loved you every single day for 12 years, Daniel. Not perfectly, not without frustration or sadness or doubt, but completely. I never needed you to be perfect. I never needed grand gestures or constant attention. I only ever needed to feel like I was seen by you, really seen. And lately I have been so very tired of being invisible inside the life we built together. I do not know what comes next. I only know I cannot keep writing in this journal alone." The bedroom was completely silent. The drawer was still open. Outside the window, the neighborhood was doing its ordinary Sunday things, and none of it felt real. Daniel picked up his phone. His hands were not steady. He called her. She answered on the second ring and said, "Hey," in the warm, familiar way she had said it for 12 years, and the sound of it, after everything he had just read, nearly undid him completely. He could not find words for a moment. Then he said, "I found your journal." The line went silent. Then she said, "Oh." Just that one word, quiet and undefended, and carrying 12 years of everything she had never said out loud. He said, "I am sorry, Caroline. I am sorry for every single page of it." Neither of them spoke for a long moment, and that silence held more honesty than most of their conversations had held in years. Because for the first time, neither of them was pretending. For the first time, he was finally seeing her, and she was finally letting herself be seen. And whatever came next for them, it was going to start from a place that was real. Here is what that journal taught him, and what it needs to teach all of us right now. Love does not disappear in one dramatic moment. It fades in the ordinary ones, in the interrupted sentences, in the dinners eaten in distraction, in the questions never asked, in the assumptions that the people who love us most will simply keep loving us regardless of how unseen we make them feel. The most dangerous thing in a relationship is not a fight. It is the silence that comes when someone has given up on having the fight. So tonight, before this video ends, look at the person closest to you. Actually look at them. Ask how they are doing, and then stop talking and wait for the real answer. Because somewhere inside the people we love the most are words they have been saving for a journal they never wanted to need. And the greatest gift we can give them costs nothing at all. It is just attention. Real, unhurried, chosen attention. If this story reached something inside you, please like this video and subscribe right now, because someone in your life needs to see this today, and you already know who that person is. Share it before you scroll past this moment, because the people we love most deserve to be seen before it is too late to show them we were looking.